Welcome back, my friends, to AA Recovery Interviews. I'm your host, Howard L., and I'm an alcoholic. Sober since January 1st, 1988, one day at a time. I'm grateful you've joined us. AA Recovery Interviews is the podcast where Alcoholics Anonymous members from around the world share their extraordinary stories of experience, strength, and hope. Today is the 150th original interview in this series, marking 3.5 years of this weekly podcast. I invite you to listen to every unique story at aarecoveryinterviews.com and on all podcast apps. Today's show is my interview with Dwight M., a man with whom I've enjoyed a deep friendship since he first came into the fellowship over 35 years ago, during my first year of sobriety. Dwight's story is both riveting and ominous, beginning with alcohol being added to his milk to keep him quiet as a toddler. Raised as an only child by a single mother in the ghettos of Harlem, he was a thief by age 6 and had witnessed the stabbing death of a schoolmate at 11. A gang member by middle school, Dwight was drinking, smoking marijuana, and breaking the law daily. When he was 12, his mother moved him to Texas to try to escape the violent streets of New York, only to land him in the notorious inner-city gangs of Houston. He somehow survived that deadly environment to make it to college, only to be drafted and sent to Viet Nam during the worst years of that war. Taught to kill and then dropped behind enemy lines for reconnaissance, Dwight suffered terrifying trauma that booze and drugs could hardly blunt. Returning to the tumultuous U.S. in 1969 and unable to find meaningful work, he returned to criminal behavior as a drug runner and dealer. As years passed and his alcoholism became more severe, Dwight somehow managed to extricate himself from his treacherous lifestyle and land a normal job. It was in that position that his alcoholism and PTSD snapped his psyche, and he was hospitalized for 45 days. That forced period of sobriety created a sliver of clarity, which culminated in a 12-step call by veterans of AA. When he got out of the hospital, Dwight was mercifully enveloped by the fellowship, never to drink again. Dwight's early years in AA were difficult at best, as trust in the people in the program came slowly. But with the help and the love he experienced in daily meetings, working the steps and helping others, he dutifully built the arch through which he has accompanied others to redemption from the disease. To be sure, his decades in AA have not been without their difficulties and challenges, some of which rival those in his pre-sobriety life. However, by staying continuously steeped in the program and spiritually connected, Dwight's life has been richly adorned by the many gifts of sobriety, gifts that he shares most freely with others. So fasten your seatbelts for this epic adventure through one alcoholic's life and enjoy listening to the next 90 minutes of AA Recovery Interviews with one of my closest friends and AA brother, Dwight M.
My name is Dwight. I'm a recovering alcohol and drug addict.
Hi, Dwight. Yeah, that's what most people say when they're asked.
Right.
To speak in front of a meeting. I want to thank you so much for doing this today. When I first conceived of the idea of AA Recovery Interviews, you were one of the people that I was thinking of that I wanted to interview, because you and I have been friends a really, really long time. We've gone through a lot together.
Right.
And here we are 145, 150 interviews later, and here you are. It's about 3.5 years later, and you and I are here at this beautiful retreat center engaging in a weekend of 12-step recovery and a 12-step AA retreat.
Right.
And it's something I know you've been doing for years, and I feel really grateful that you're willing to do this today.
Yes. I am too.
Good. But I just mentioned the fact that you've done a lot of these retreats over the years. Can you tell me what going to a retreat means for you and your sobriety?
Coming to this retreat, or coming to the first retreat, I didn't know what it was all about. It was interesting. I was afraid of what people might say, think.
How long were you sober when you came to your first retreat?
8 months or 9 months, somewhere off in that. I don't remember now, but...
Do you remember much about your very first retreat?
No, I sure don't. I was just quiet and peaceful, and I knew I needed to be here.
Well, this retreat center is set in a very bucolic area, and it's big pine trees and other big oak trees all around, and it's a quiet, contemplative place. to go to a meeting, or in this case, to go to a weekend retreat. You mentioned that you had some trepidations, I guess, about going to the retreat. What were those?
Well, I didn't know what to expect.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was coming to meetings, the men's group on Sundays, because that's what they told me to do.
Yeah.
So I did it. I didn't like it, but I said, well, I'm not a Catholic. Why should I come over here?
Yeah,
I said, well, it has nothing to do with Catholics. It's about your recovery, and this is a meeting that you need to go to and that you should go to.
So you took good orderly direction.
I took those suggestions that they suggested.
Well, before we go too much further, tell me what your sobriety date is. I know, but I would like our listeners to know.
August the 17th, 1988, and I'm totally grateful.
Totally grateful, as am I, because my birthday is in 1988 as well.
Right.
You and I met in the very early days of our respective sobrieties, and we've been friends, close friends, for many, many years. Even though you moved from Houston in 1998, here we are in 2024, and we're still
going strong, talking to each other.
Yeah, talking to each other and sharing the good and the bad, and being each other's good friend and brother in the program. So over the years, you decided to go back. What did you get out of your first retreat that made you want to go back for another one?
I guess there was serenity and the peace, and I could work the steps and do a full step while I was here and talk to Father, can't remember his name at this time, but
Bob or Carl? Or...
Yeah, Bob, I think.
Yeah,
I think it was Father Bob. Might have been Carl, yeah. But either one of them, I could talk to them at ease. I felt relaxed, and I talked to them about it, and they blessed me, and I went on. And I said, well, man, that was enlightening, and I've been going ever since. I think I went to 2 a year, first 10 years at least, missed a few there because of certain things, but I was pretty regular over here.
I go to this retreat every year in April, and I remember when you chaired and co-chaired the retreat that weekend, and how much fun and enjoyment, how meaningful that experience was for me, not only to be around other men, but to get to know you better. And I think our friendship blossomed as one of the results of going to the retreat, because it's so much more time that you can spend with people than you would normally get before or after a meeting.
Right.
But of course, in a meeting was where you and I first met.
Yes.
At a club, which we won't name the club, but we'll just say it's one of the more prominent clubs in Houston. I think that's where I met you for the very first time. And can you tell me about your first AA meetings and what they were like?
They were crazy.
I knew the answer to that, but I'm pretending I don't. But it traumatized me at the time. Go ahead.
Well, my first meeting was with Sarge. Came in. Maury called Sarge and told me come get me, and they came and got me and took me to a meeting.
Where'd they come and get you from?
Hospital.
From a hospital. Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
I had been there I was supposed to be there for 30 days. But I was there for 45 days because they kept me because I needed a little extra help.
What was going on that you needed to be hospitalized at that time?
Oh, man. I came in here with a Viet Nam problem instead of alcohol and drug problem. At least that's what I thought. But I come to find out I had more problems than just Vietnam and alcohol and drugs. Emotional, gambling, sex, rage, anger.
You're talking about the PTSD that you suffered.
Right. So I had a lot of complications, a lot of fears, a lot of resentments, totally upset about the world. Matter of fact, I didn't give a shit about the world.
Yeah.
I know you go.
No,
cut this.
I'm not going to cut that out. I let people say what they need to say.
Yeah.
But so you were in Vietnam right around the same time that my older brother was in Vietnam.
From 66 through 69.
Okay, so he was there in 67 through, I think, 69.
Through the Tet.
Through the Tet Offensive.
Yeah, Tet Offensive.
he came back. What I know about my own personal experience is that he came back really, really messed up.
Yes.
And had attempted at least suicide at least a couple of times.
Yeah, at least.
And the nature of the impact on his life was somewhere along the way he decided to just completely cut off all communication with me, his sisters, my parents, my late parents, and so last time I spoke to him was about 40 years ago. And I don't know really what he's doing or where he is, but that was by his choice. But it really gave me an idea, because I remember asking you at the time, you were one of the guys I asked. I said, my brother seemed to be okay for a while, and then his personality just turned completely around. Is that something that's pretty common with PTSD?
Yes, because people don't accept you, and you don't accept people, because they don't understand what we went through.
Yeah.
We went through a traumatized situation and wasn't appreciated for it. So how do you trust somebody when you come back and they hollering at you like baby killer, murderer, rapist, thieves, the N-word, and all other words, and go home and you don't belong here. So you're hitting all this negative information.
And you've been traumatized enough by what you had to do there.
By the war, and where you already harmed other people. I won't say what I did, but I've harmed other people in certain ways where it's not legal, but I had a job to do for the government. And come back, and the government don't even accept you, and the people don't accept you. So you say, the hell with everybody. So you back away from all forms of life, all forms of information that you didn't, that you thought people would appreciate, but they don't appreciate because they don't understand what you went through or what you're going through at the present time.
That's really sad, and it's happened a lot in recent years, but mostly as a result of Vietnam. So many men and women came back expecting something and
got nothing.
Got nothing. That's really
tough. We got hated. No job, no place to live.
Yeah.
And that's why we still have homeless Vietnam veterans today.
You work with some of them, don't you, up in Richmond?
Really. Yeah. And that's
we're talking about men in their late 70s now, right?
Yeah, should be in the late 70s. Most of them late 70s. Yeah, 70s to 80s.
And we're talking 55, 60 years ago that you guys were there.
And they still won't help these guys.
Yeah, so that's part of the problem.
Yeah.
That's part of the problem. So somewhere along the way, you were a different man before you went to Vietnam. Can you back us up to what it was like in your family of origin and growing up that until you actually got drafted and went to Vietnam?
That was a crazy thing. I grew up in Houston, Texas. I guess Clinton Park, Galena Park area, going to school. Then I graduated. Then I went to Texas Southern University. Well, first I went to Prairie View University. Yeah. But we got so drunk and high off smoking weed and drunk, drinking gallons of wine and sitting up on the hill. Eventually, after one gallon of white pork wine, I tried to burn the dorm down.
Oh, no.
So they told me.
On purpose or by accident?
We won't say.
Okay, I get it.
But then they say, well, you got to go. So I went and got entered into TSU, Texas Southern University, in my sophomore year. And that's when they said, we taking you out of school. I said, what do you mean taking me out of school? Well, we need people to fight in Vietnam.
So this is before the deferments for higher education?
Right.
Wow.
So they took me out of college and then went to the recruiter's office. And he said, well, we got a couple of options here. Options are that since you're getting drafted, you can volunteer if you want to, but that's an extra benefit if you volunteer.
They knock some time off of your enlistment?
No, the whole deal was if you volunteer instead of being drafted, then that won't be on your DD 214 that you was a draftee. Be on there saying you're a regular volunteer, which means you wanted to participate in the U.S. government to help with the war. And he said also, if you would like, we'll get you into jump school where you can get you some extra money, airborne school. And I said, hey, that sounds good. I said, well, what do I have to do? He said, well, you won't be in the infantry. We'll put you in communications. And that was a lie.
Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then once they recruited me and went into the service from the recruitment station to, I think in San Antonio, maybe, where they recruited me, talked to a recruiter. Then they shipped me off to Fort Polk, Louisiana. It was a miserable place. But training was there for 6 to 9 months or something like that.
You know what I'd like to do is put this on hold for just a second and go back a bit. You told me a little bit about your high school and college. What was life growing up for you? What was your experience? Was it a happy childhood, a sad childhood, difficult?
It was a sad childhood. My mother, single parent, raising a kid, and friends in the neighborhood. Matter of fact, one of my best friends got stabbed on the bus going to school. They got into a fight, and the guy had a 3-inch knife and stabbed him in the chest, and we ran after him. And then this guy just dropped, and he was dead on arrival, so we were dead when they got there.
How old were you when that happened?
I don't know, I'm probably 12, maybe.
So you grew up in a pretty difficult area? Or?
Well, during that time, it was fights between rivals and areas.
Yeah.
You had Galena Park over here, you had Clinton Park over here, you had Fifth Ward over there, you had Cashmere Garden over here, territorial type thing, and gangs. And being a kid, you wanted to be wanted, and you wanted to be in. So
this is during the late 50s, early 60s?
Yeah, late 50s, right in that area.
Did you ever know your father?
No.
So he was out of the scene?
No, he was out of the scene, and my mother married some guy, and they got into a fight, and she stabbed him, and I kicked him out the house, and police came, and my mother told me to go to the neighbor's house. And I went to the neighbor's house, and I don't know what happened after that.
How old were you when that happened?
That happened before my buddy got stabbed. So I was, I guess, 9 or 10 before that kind of happened.
What a horrific thing for a child to have to
go through at that time.
And see.
Yeah.
But was he badly hurt after she stabbed him?
I really don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if he passed away, died, or I know the ambulance came, police came, and they took him away. I had never seen him again.
And your mother, did she face any consequences?
No, she was a school teacher.
Huh. Yeah, I remember going to your mom's funeral all those years ago, and how many teachers and educators there were. She was a very well-respected and wonderful
she was in
woman.
a lot of organizations, helped a lot of people, taught the 5th and 6th grade and special ed, special education type stuff. So she was in there for 30 some odd years, I guess.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Now you've got how many siblings?
I don't have any, really.
Yeah, okay.
My mother adopted a young girl that she taught in school.
Okay.
And in the 6th grade. So I guess the kid must have been 11, 12, 10, 11, 12. And they kept in touch. But she adopted her. So she was my half-sister.
Okay.
when I found out. But I was over in Viet Nam at the time.
So you didn't actually grow up with any
No,
brothers
I
or
didn't grow up
sisters.
with no brothers and sisters.
So
I grew up with the neighborhood gang and the neighborhood boys that got into trouble.
When that was going on, do you recall as when you were a kid and you were running with the gangs and all the different people out there, do you remember what your mom's reaction and response was in the beginning, and then as time went on and you got less and less involved at home?
Well, the thing was, I was born in New York, Harlem, New York, the village of Harlem on 125th Street. And I was getting in trouble then because I was with a kid trying to make some extra money, and they would pay kids in the gangs, the kids to rip off the clothing manufacturers. You grab the clothes, you run down the street, throw the clothes to another kid, and he'll run, and it's just one kid after another with different
relay robbery.
Real robbery with shark skin silk suits. So the mafia really
they didn't like that a whole lot, did they?
Well,
or did they run it?
They ran it. That was the whole thing, and they paid us for it, you know.
Oh.
But they wanted to, I guess, territorial stuff. And I didn't know anything about it at that time.
So you were a young teen at that point?
No, I was like 5, 6, 7 years old at that time.
My gosh.
And then that's when my mother moved
to
from
get away
New
from
York.
that?
Yeah, to get away from that because she saw me that I was going to get in trouble. And I guess that's when, but I didn't know my father at that time. So my mother moved me down to Houston, Texas, or Clinton Park.
And you went back to the same kind of people?
Went back, well, same people then, but they didn't do any shoplifting type stuff. But it's still the gang stuff and going to discos and bars and had a aunt. I don't know if she was my real aunt or not, but they had gambling houses in the neighborhoods, and people would go and gamble, and they make the kids fix the drinks.
So you were a bartender at the age of what?
9, 10, 11, 12, all the way up to 18 years old.
What a great start to becoming an alcoholic on
Really,
the road.
I didn't know anything about it. My grandmother said, yeah, we put some alcohol in your milk so you could go to sleep at night, you know, because you was keeping up too much noise. You were disturbing us, and we're gambling here. We playing cards and drinking. I said, well, thanks, grandmother, you know. I said, no wonder I was falling asleep so quickly.
And you're just a little kid.
Yeah, but that's what they used to do to kids at that time. So how would you know that you're a full-blown alcoholic at 1 year old?
Yeah.
Or 6 months year old. And then it continues on until you're 40 or 50 years old.
That's interesting that was going on from the time you were a baby.
Right.
You said your mom was a teacher for well over 30 years. Was that during the time that you were at home, or was that after you were already out of the house?
No, that was the time I was at home. You know, I had different people keep track of me. You know, you stay with the neighbors. Mother would go to work.
Right.
You have to stay with the neighbors. And the neighbors would do the same thing to all the kids, you know, 3 or 4 kids in the house. They put a little bourbon, whiskey, and moonshine in the milk. And you drink it, and you go to sleep. So you were nice and peaceful and quiet because
you're drunk.
I didn't know that. I know I tasted good. The milk tastes good, but I didn't know what was in it until later in life.
So you were actually drinking alcohol before you had any say-so as to whether or not you did.
I didn't have any clue about what I was drinking. I knew it was white, and it had a nipple on it, and I had to suck it down to like food. You know, it's kind of like baby food. You know, they cook it in the thing, stir it up, put it in a little bottle, and you suck on it, and you don't know what's in it.
So we're still talking about when you were maybe even pre-verbal, when you were
Yeah,
just a tot.
right.
Now, as you grew into childhood and went to elementary school,
Yeah, you still drink, hide it, steal it from the neighbors. Everybody used to, in that neighborhood, you would go to other kids' house, and they would steal their parents' liquor, and we'd go behind the house and drink a little bit, and and run around in the street, and
when all that was going on, what were you seeking as a kid with that behavior?
fellowship.
Fellowship. Yeah.
Somebody, you're born up as a orphan child, a single parent child. You're looking for fellowship, love, appreciation, somebody to hang out with, a father figure. But you never had that, so you get a buddy system. Whatever your buddy did, you cover him, and he covers you.
In what ways would you say that influenced your personality and your emotionality and your demeanor as you got older and were seeking to have those kind of relationships with other people, maybe even when you were an adult?
It just carried on. Didn't think about it. You just did it. I mean, you went and stole stuff. You steal from other people's house that wasn't friendly. Steal from the apple tree or the peach tree or the plum tree. And so you grew up as a teenager, started going to high school or middle school, and you started doing the same thing. You still drinking and find other kids that did the same thing you did because you wanted fellowship. You didn't want to be an outcast because we got in fights with the people that were outcasts. At that time they called them gays, queers, this kind of thing. If you wasn't in the gang or on a basketball team, a baseball team, a basketball team, you were outcast. So I had to join one of them to be part of.
So you joined the gangs that were drinking and robbing and do that kind of stuff?
Well, that's the only thing you knew.
Yeah.
I mean, what else you gonna do? Go to the library? Ain't nobody go. Nobody did that.
What kind of consequences did you suffer with that behavior, or did you just not get caught?
Well, I didn't get caught until later, coming back from Viet Nam. But earlier, you learn how death, because the buddy died in grade school or high school. And then some more buddies died in junior high school, and then some more buddies died in high school. So you got into big fights in junior high school. You got in fights in high school, and some people get cut, stabbed, die. And, at that time, it was just knives and fist fights. Nobody had any guns until later. So it wasn't a whole lot of shooting going on, but it was a lot of gangs. But it wasn't called gangs at that time, but groups of guys thinking they're in a gang. In the high school they had a brothel down the street from the high school, so you'd go down there and drink and play around with the women and gamble a little bit and shoot a little dice in the back corner and bet this and bet that. So you grew up in that type of lifestyle, and you just continued on and on and on.
So since you went from that environment right into the military,
Yes.
Was there ever a time at which you got to experience what might be seen as normal societal behavior or a normal life? Did you ever observe that amongst family members or other people and draw the distinction between the life you were leading and the lives they were leading?
Well, you thought they were normal, but come to find out, nobody was normal in that situation, because the family, it was supposed to be family because you don't know whose family. Because when people come over or you go to there, they still gambling and drinking and drugging. But I didn't know if they was on drugs, but they probably were. But they were gambling. And so you get used to that type of lifestyle, and you just carry that lifestyle on and on and on, and you start doing it yourself. In high school, in college, and they took me out of college. So
When you were in college, or for the brief time that you were in college, what did you think about the world ahead as you were sitting in those classes at TSU? What did you think your life was going to be like ahead before you went into the military?
I thought I was going to become a professional baseball player
Oh,
because that's what I was doing, playing baseball, and then they took me out of that because, from junior high school, I was a pretty good athlete.
yeah.
And then high school, junior high school, I got some teacher that was, he was a little hard on us, but, and he told me I needed to play football. My mother said, no, you're not playing football. You're going to play baseball. So I played baseball, and I got a pretty well recommendation for baseball to enter college. And so I started playing baseball in college. But then that didn't last long either because the draft came along. And my number came up, but I volunteered.
So that derailed any ideas you had for becoming a professional baseball player,
Or just finishing college.
finishing college.
Yeah, but I never finished.
Yeah. All in all, it sounds like from the time you were born until the time you went to Viet Nam was just, well, how would you characterize that entire part of your life?
Some good, some bad. But it was always chaotic, confusing, belligerent, anger, frustrated, didn't care too much about life because you didn't have a father, you didn't have a mentor. You tried to get a mentor from your grade schools, but wasn't nobody that fit your qualifications. But how do you judge a qualification when you don't know anything about it? And then I found one guy in high school, and he treated me like shit. So I lost interest in him, and lost interest in baseball. And then the next thing happened. There I am.
There you are.
Yeah, in Vietnam.
We'll be right back. My friends, if you're enjoying AA Recovery interviews, I invite you to check out my latest audiobook, Alcoholics Anonymous, the story of how more than 100 men have recovered from alcoholism. This is the word-for-word, cover-to-cover reading of the first edition of the Big Book, published in 1939. It's a relaxing yet meaningful and engaging way to listen to the Big Book anytime, any place. Have a free listen at Audible, iTunes, or Amazon. You're going to love it. And we're back. Did the military, when you volunteered, when you went into the military, did you sense any kind of structure, or was there anything about that made you think, well, maybe I'll learn how to live life with what they're teaching me? Or what was your attitude about being in the military when you first went in?
Well, I didn't have. I didn't know what to think. I just, it's kind of like just you're going into an organization that's, you know the war was going on, was happening, and you had heard about it, and you just thought, okay, well, maybe I can get an education this way.
Meaning after you get out.
Yeah. Yeah. But maybe I can learn something new besides going to college and still drinking and drugging. But you go in the military, they're doing the same thing.
Yeah, there's a lot of that went on, huh?
Yeah. Well, they condoned it. They helped it. I mean, you run a few miles, run 5 miles, and come back. Everybody goes to the canteen, have a beer, drink 6 or 7 of them. You know you got to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning, but who cares?
And you'd been drinking for years by that point, so
Yeah, really.
it
So it
was
didn't
nothing new to you.
nothing new, but I didn't know anything about no alcoholism.
Now, you told me earlier, it kind of brings us back to the point at which you're in the service, you're going into jump school, you're volunteering, and what was the branch you were in?
Well, first it was Signal Corps in the Army. But, you go through basic training, and then they send you to several schools to learn several techniques, and I chose communications, engineering. But something happened during that time, and they said, well, we need people, infantry. You go in the airborne school, so we're going to teach you these type of trainings. And I said, oh, okay, all right. So I agreed to it because there was extra pay.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, extra money at that time, $100 a month, you get extra $55 during that time. So that would be, $155. But
So
if you go to jump school, but they didn't say anything about high technical training. You don't get nothing paid for that. But the jump school, you got extra pay for that. So
jump school meaning they drop you
out of a plane.
Drop you out of a plane. Now I get that, but where do they drop you?
Well, first you go to jump school, which is in Fort Benning, Georgia.
Uh-huh.
Then you go to the 82nd Airborne, which is in North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
Then you go to special training up in Kentucky with the 101st for specialized infantry training. It's not the special forces at that time. They just called it special training.
Mm.
And come to find out, it was LRP training, long-range reconnaissance training. But you had already had the infantry training. They just boost you up to another level of training. But I was in communications all the time until I got to Vietnam.
So communications means?
Radio operator.
Would you have also been tasked with destroying enemy equipment and that sort of thing?
Later on, once we got there.
Yeah.
Because so many men was dying once we hit the ground. So everything changed. All that training as far as equipment operator or communications operator, you don't know where you're going to be next. You either thought you was going to be in communications training as a radio operator for, say, a engineering battalion or tank battalion or Jeep battalion or but that changed.
Once you got there.
Yeah, once you got there, because so many people were dying and so many people had gotten hurt. You know, that war started in 1956.
With the French.
Yeah. And they still sent Americans over there as advisors, and they were getting killed. So, you just refluctuate an advisor and an advisor and an advisor, and then all of a sudden a battalion, then a battalion, then a whole bunch of battalions.
By the time you got there, the war was already ramped up.
Pretty much until Tet, and it wrapped up anymore. In 67. About the end of 67, 68, it was full blown.
Yeah, that's when my brother was there.
Yeah, and then you had to go to different places because they needed extra men to fill in. Because so many men died in Pleiku and Da Nang, Phan Rang. So they kind of split us all up in different groups to go to different places.
To do basically the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you got the training. Now you got to put it in action. So you don't know what battalion you're going to be in. You don't know if you're going to be in 501st Infantry as a gunner in an infantry battalion, or if you're going to be an alert in an infantry battalion to go out in front, or you're going to be a alert in a tank battalion. You don't know where you're going to be.
What is alert?
Long-range reconnaissance, like an Indian scout.
Is that what the Rangers did?
Yeah. You go out in front to survey the enemy and radio back on where they are. The enemy lets you go through, and they attack the battalion behind you.
Oh, God.
But sometimes they would come back in and attack us, and there was only 6 or 7 guys at a time.
Mm.
So when you was in places where you don't know where you were, wasn't supposed to be there, like Laos, Cambodia, they said we wasn't there. And that's bullshit. We were there.
Yeah. We know that now.
Know that now, 50 years later.
Yeah, 50 years later.
Yeah.
I want to say at this point in the interview, Dwight, that I know in talking with other vets, there's a lot of memories and very difficult things they have to think about, much less talk about. And I at this point, I kind of want to make sure you're okay with still talking about this. We won't dwell on it because we want to talk about recovery here in a minute. But I just want to make sure that you're okay with sharing.
I'm okay with it now, but...
How many years did it take you to get over that before you went into AA?
From 69, coming back,
Mm-hmm.
then going trying to get a job, which they didn't give me, so you had to go back into social services at that time, where they retrain you into getting some kind of piss-ass job that doesn't pay nothing, like a waiter or dishwasher at a restaurant somewhere. So that's what I did, bounced around from hotels and big fancy restaurants, dishwashing, waiters type jobs, until you finish a social services school where you got some kind of skill. You could have been a welder or a machinist or engineer, draftsman,
Mm-hmm.
or designer, that type of thing, and a mechanic, woodworker, or something like that, So
they were trying to retrain you after your
right.
Army experience.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But that was the only way, because you just couldn't go out there and get a job because you didn't have no skill set. They don't have a job for a gunman, a machine gunman, or a LERP, or anything like that.
There are no jobs in
right.
average society of go out and kill people
right.
for a
Unless
paycheck.
you want to work for the mafia or Mexicans,
God, that must have, when you came back from Vietnam, everything that was going on in the country at that time, plus what had happened to you in Vietnam, plus what you were facing with regards to earning a living and living your life, that must have been daunting.
Oh, it was crazy.
Yeah.
You come back with a duffel bag full of drugs, nobody search you, come back. The crazy thing, when you come back from Vietnam, we came back with duffel bags and still our ammo. Got an M60 machine gun on me and wrapped up in grenades and bullets and armory and knives and pistols and everything on you, and people over there with flags up calling you all kind of names and go home and do this and all kind of. And fortunately, I guess we were all in shock. We didn't do anything because the MPs, I guess the military police, kept us away from the airports, but we flew back into LAX airport,
Yeah.
and they had all those signs and stuff, but they diverted us to the buses out in the airfield.
Huh.
And we still got jungle warfare training crap on and all our ammunition. I mean, it was crazy because they just brought us back with what we had, you know. So a lot of guys were, you know, we brought back all kind of stuff. Opium, cocaine, weed.
So that was enough to get you through the next period of time, wasn't
Right.
it?
Yeah. Then you get hooked in with the cartels.
Right.
Because you come back and they had a job for you. But you were doing it on your own for several years just to survive with, you know, just the locals. Oh, I got this, man. I got a little cocaine. I got a little opium, man. And you fly back and forth from here to Colombia, Brazil, or Viet Nam. And
So you were making your living for a period of time as a drug runner or hustler?
drug runner.
Drug runner. Jeez.
Then you come back and you settle down and you sell all your stuff and cut all your stuff. And then it got worse because you couldn't get back on the airplanes because the stuff you had done. We won't go into that.
No.
But then I started, I got a job, finally got a job. I can't believe I got a job because I was a designer, designing PC boards.
In the early days.
Yeah, in the early days. And I wish I'd have stayed with that because,
You'd be a billionaire today.
yeah,
probably.
really. That's right. With all this high-tech stuff,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
IT stuff, yeah. But I didn't stay with it. I was more staying with the drugs.
So during this time, you were still drinking and using drugs all the time.
Of course.
So at what point did you start to realize that you were having a real problem with it?
Not until I was working with a company, an oil company.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess doing all those drugs and running back and forth and trying to finagle girlfriends, running from country to country and trying to manage this and trying to manage a job, I guess something happened. I don't know what happened, but I was losing it. And my job, I don't know, I think some guy was asking me about my Viet Nam experience.
Mm-hmm.
And something snapped. And I was at work. And I said, I don't know, I was writing something and something snapped. And I lost it. I lost all mental and physical abilities to do anything. And I had been on the job for, I don't know, maybe 10, 12 years.
Wow.
But I was still ripping and running back and forth, but wasn't operating at the job.
So that
fairly
snap
well.
that occurred, what did it leave you just frozen, or did you respond or react?
No, I didn't react, but I was getting ready to react. And I was still keeping in touch with the one buddy I had up in Chicago, Vietnam buddy. And he had just committed suicide and killed a couple other people and stuff like that. And so I'm the only one left.
Only one left.
And I guess that's when it snapped and I realized that, hey, I'm the only one left out of this crew. And,
Did you lose your job over that?
well, I went into the job and told them I had a PTSD problem, having flashbacks. And they said, well, we'll get you some help. And that's when I came into the program.
So as a result of that snap from the PTSD, the oil company that you were working for at the time, instead of firing you, you went to them and said, I need help.
Yep. Well,
Or this is you were trying to save your job or get help?
I was trying to say, well, I was trying to get help.
Yeah.
Because the Colombians told me to go get some help.
You telling me that to get some
Go
help?
get some help. Because I was selling that stuff, but I was cutting it. And you don't cut that stuff because they get more money if you sell it pure. And I was cutting it, and, you know, I had a big house over there and back over by a medical center. Had a big townhouse over there selling drugs.
Were you married at the time? Tell me about marriage. I know there are marriages involved,
Yeah.
but what's the timing of those?
Well, I was married. I got married because the lady told me that she was pregnant, and it was my kid. But I didn't know it. I didn't know I had gotten her pregnant. I don't know if it's still. I don't know if it's my kid today. After 60-some years, still don't know.
Yeah.
I never got a DNA test, but that's what she told me.
Yeah.
And I said, well, how am I going to support myself and her and a kid? So I went into the military. That's how I got into the military, because I had all this stuff. And I said, well, going to school is not going to do it. And then this thing started happening back and forth. And they said the draft was going on at that time. And I hadn't gotten all that stuff. And they said, hey, okay, it's time for you to go. And I said, well, this is a good way to make some money. I can send the money back to her so she can take care of the kid and the family and this kind of thing.
Did that ever work out?
No. She spent every dime.
And so she took you to the cleaners, so to speak.
Took me to the cleaners, and I come back. She was with my best friend, my high school buddy.
So did you have to get divorced at that point?
Yeah, I wanted to, do something to him, but I was sitting on the porch one day with a .45, and I just started shooting at people's houses and stuff. And they said, well, you got to go. You got to get out the neighborhood.
Is this the police who told you that, or the people in the neighborhood?
People in the neighborhood.
Yeah. You're lucky you didn't kill anybody at that point, right?
Right. Because I was a little off whack there.
So you went from that marriage. What's the progression until?
I went from that marriage to, trying to find a job here and there, and trying to sell drugs on the side, and that's how I got involved with all the drugs. And I finally got a job, part-time jobs here and there, doing, like I said, waitressing and dishwasher thing. And then that's when I got really heavy into the drugs. I started making freebase. God taught me how to make freebase. And now they call it crack now. At that time. Then I got involved with the crack and started selling that. And then I said, man, I could fly back to make more money if I just fly back to Thailand or Viet Nam somewhere and get some opium. So I was the opium dealer for Houston.
Oh, man. This is one of those stories as you pull a string, and lots unravels.
That's right.
Holy cow.
So I had the only opium in Houston, But so we would trade weed for opium, and trade a little bit of freebase cocaine for a little opium, and mix all that stuff together. This guy over here had Quaaludes and 714s, and we'd trade back and forth with different people. And
what a lifestyle.
It was constantly at work, trying to keep watching your back and not trusting people, because they came in, they stole everything out of my apartment. And I said, man, what the hell's wrong with these people? Don't they know who I am? So I rigged the apartment up and I left. Yeah, they thought it caught on fire. At that time, it had no forensics or anything like that.
They better not do that to you. They'd be in trouble.
And in the next apartment, I went over and I electric everything in that apartment, put electric wires up just in case people wouldn't steal stuff like that. Then I got involved with the Black Panthers in Third Ward.
Mm-hmm.
And then one of my friends got killed in that deal, in the raid on that deal. And in my apartment, I had yarn
Mm-hmm.
all the way across the walls and everything around the walls and stuff. So if you broke in, you wouldn't know where to go because the yarn, it was all tangled up from the ceiling to the floor, everywhere.
And you're flailing around in it and that sort of thing.
Yeah, you'd get all tangled up in it and get all loose, and then I got time enough to put you away.
God.
Well, I mean, you got to have a booby trap
No,
because
man.
people, they had already stole from me once. You're not going to do this again. So you booby trap your apartment.
Mm.
So I booby trapped it, but that didn't last either. So
As stories go, your war story really is a war story. And it's one that continued beyond the actual war itself until you came back here and you became a drug dealer and you became a criminal, so to speak.
Criminal, went to jail.
How long did you go to jail for?
I think it was about 90 days. That's what the judge gave me.
Okay, so you never went to prison over anything that you did.
No, I was in the stockade for a while.
Oh, yeah? In the Army?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For slapping a lieutenant and 9, missing KP. I was in the dumpster drinking fifths of wild turkey and supposed to have been on KP, cleaning up and doing this kind of stuff. And I missed everything. And one night they came out, they thought I had went AWOL, and one night the guy came out and dumped, hey, I said, hey, what the hell you doing? Don't be dumping shit on me.
In the dumpster.
I'm in the dumpster.
God.
He said, you don't get your ass out of there. He said, they looking for you. You know you're AWOL.
Oh, man.
They took my ass to the stockade and locked my ass up. Then they let me out.
Your story is incredibly impactful.
It's crazy.
If I didn't know you, it would be impactful. But I know you, and we've been brothers for a long, long time. And there's certain things you're telling me today that I did not know, and I'm grateful, and I honor you for obviously for your service and everything else. But I'm grateful that you trust me enough to be telling me these things.
I wouldn't tell that to anybody else. Howard, you're the only one I could trust with that type of information. And I trust you with it because I know you're going to edit it and do the right thing.
Well, there are a lot of people out there who are amongst our midst today, the men that we're at this very retreat with right now. Many of them have backstories that involve all sorts of nefarious things. War experience, crime, certainly drug and alcohol use. By the time you got help that you needed, did they send you to a rehab facility?
They sent me to Robbie. Dr. Robbie sent me to a psychiatrist. Robbie and Dudley.
And they were both psychiatrists?
I think Dudley was a social worker at that time, but Robbie was a psychiatrist. And they put me in treatment. After I told them, what I was doing, I was making this story like I'm doing now, but I was making it on tapes for a guy that was going to write an article for a movie.
Huh.
Back when all them Viet Nam movies were going on. I can't think of the name of the damn movie, but he was going to put this in the movie. And I didn't get to finish the tape. And I had 2 of them cassette tapes.
Mm-hmm.
And I gave them to Robbie and Dudley. I don't know if Dudley listened to it or not. But Robbie said, you need help right now. And that's when they put me into the hospital.
They put you in the hospital there. Did you have to detox?
Yeah, they detoxed me. I was up on the detox ward.
How did you feel about being there?
I was there by myself. I mean, there was other people there, but they wouldn't let me go to groups. So they give me time to detox and settle down.
Did you sense a need to be there deep down inside? And were you accepting of that fact?
I knew I needed help. I just didn't know how to get it.
Yeah.
And too afraid to ask.
So if somebody at that time said, okay, Dwight, have you had enough? What would you have said?
Well, didn't nobody ask. They gave me what I can remember, they gave me a bed, and Maury gave me a big book, and he said, rest. And that's what I did. Rested a little bit, I guess. I don't know how long. Detox. I don't know what they were doing to me, but, and then I opened that big book, and that's when it fell open on page 63.
What did it fall open to?
This third step prayer. God, relieve me from the bondage of self, so I may better do thy will. Take away my difficulties, that victory over them may bear witness to those that help with thy power, thy love, thy way of life. And may I do thy will always. But I was wrapped up in that bondage that it says in the first part.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, how am I going to get out of this? I got bankruptcy. I got the IRS after me. I got foreclosure on the home. They taken away my cars. Lost my job. So what am I supposed to do? So I just gave up. I said, what the hell can they do to me?
So would you call that surrender? Or what would you call that?
I'd call that giving up. I've had enough.
You're tired?
Yeah. I'm tired of doing this lifestyle, running, ripping around, taking people's lives and running through people's lives like it was water. I went to jail one time with a girl. Twice. I forgot about that thing. I'm glad you reminded me. Got an apartment over there in West Harlem area, hippie days, and in an apartment with her, and ended up in jail because we were drinking syrup, Romalar. It only cost 79 cents at that time because every now and then you'd run out of drugs, you run out of weed. They had a dry spell, so you had to find something else to drink that was cheap because, you wasn't making that much money, so we found cough syrup because the Robitussin was costing too much. It was $4 or $5 a bottle. When, hell, Romalar was only 79 cents. And it got you higher and crazy.
Oh, jeez.
Hallucinogenic and the whole 9 yards.
Oh, my.
They took it off the shelf because too many people found out about it. God, man, that was... Then I found another one before the house, and that was an apartment. Then once I got the job and found another little girl, and it was a stripper. She called the police on me because I started fighting with her and beating her up. She like abuse, and she told me where all my shit was. And I had all the marijuana, the opium, and hashish, and she told the police. And because we got into a fight, and that was godly. They locked my ass up for that, too. I forgot I'd been to jail several times.
Well, and it sounds like they were reasonable things to be in prison for. We'll be right back. My friends, if you're enjoying listening to my AA Recovery Interviews podcast, check out my latest audiobook, Lost Stories of the Big Book, 30 original stories missing from the 3rd and 4th editions of Alcoholics Anonymous. It's an engaging audiobook that brings these stories to life for AA members who've never seen them. These timeless testimonials were originally cut to make room for newer stories in the 3rd and 4th editions. But their vitally important messages of hope are as meaningful today as they were when they were first published. Many listeners will hear these stories for the very first time. Have a free listen to Lost Stories of the Big Book on Audible, Amazon, or iTunes. It's also available as a Kindle book and in paperback from Amazon. You're going to love it. And we're back. You were 45 days in the hospital.
Yeah.
You had a big book.
Yeah.
Maury, was he coming to see you while you were there?
He was the therapist, I think, the counselor.
Yeah, he
therapist.
was a
counselor.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was my counselor.
So when did you first go to AA?
after the 45 days.
Uh-huh.
I think it was 46 days. Sarge came and got me, introduced me to, Dudley. I don't know if Dudley told Sarge or Sarge told. I don't know, but Dudley, Maury, Sarge, and Robbie, they all said, okay, he's may be sober enough or work through the first 3 steps to where he can go to a meeting. They took me to the meeting. That was my first meeting with Corpus Christi Jack. I don't know why I remember that meeting. I guess it was because of the promises. I told him, if those damn promises doesn't come true, somebody's going to get hurt. And that's what Todd said. Shut the hell up, get the fuck out of your head.
Yeah.
Ain't nothing up there.
Well, and I've told you this before, that those were the earliest days when I first met you, I think. And
I think that was the first,
some of the first meetings that I was in with you, and that noon meeting. And that particular club, I'm not going to give the name of it, but that particular club that we went to was more of a higher end club, and a lot of business people and middle class oriented. And there you were in there saying, these promises better come true. Someone's going to get hurt. And I've been to Viet Nam, and it don't make any difference to me if you get hurt. And you were saying all that kind of shit.
You're right. And I'll hand you a grenade and have you a nice fucking day. And they said, well, you can't say that in these meetings. I said, what? Why not?
Well, I remember what happened was people would literally get up and leave that meeting. Lots of people would get up and leave because they didn't want to be in the presence of a madman at that point. But there was something compelling about it that attracted me to you. Something about it. It may be, now that I think back on it, it may be that transference, if that's the right term, of never having been able to get my brother's perspective on his Vietnam experience to hearing what you were saying. And somehow that was, in a way, it was attractive to me. So that's one of the reasons why we stuck. What did you think of the first weeks and months that you were in AA? Did you cling on right away?
No, I didn't trust y'all.
Yeah.
Y'all and shit. I didn't believe you. That's why you think I said what I said in meetings. This one, Sarge and the rest of the guys and Donald G told me, hey, you can't be saying that in a meeting. You need to calm down
Tone
a
it
bit.
down.
Because you making people scared. And they not coming to meetings and stuff like that. If you in here, they gonna leave. You need to go to the early meetings, or you need to go to very late meetings where Carlton. Now remember, Carlton was in the 12 o'clock meeting at night, midnight, 10 o'clock meeting. So I would go to that meeting, and they told me, go to men's meetings, and most men would understand. But the military guys that were in there, they understood, and they kind of helped me get through this whole deal.
Now, how long did it take for you to get a sponsor and start working the steps?
Well, they gave me a sponsor.
They gave you a sponsor?
They gave me an alcoholic sponsor, a cocaine sponsor, and a Vietnam sponsor.
Although you were working just with one program?
Well, I was working with Sarge with the Vietnam and the trauma and all this other stuff. And they said, Don G was the alcohol. And then they gave me this other guy, I can't think his name because he wouldn't told everybody my damn story. My 4th step, he was a cocaine sponsor. And I said, y'all told me to trust these damn people. And I'm gonna have his ass shot. And they said, no, you can't do that. I said, why in the hell not? I said, that's something that's gonna come up missing.
Did you ever get the sense that one, you only needed one program, so you should just stick with one, or did you just do what they told you to do?
I just did what they told me to do, because I said, I'm at your beck and call. I give up. I surrender.
You surrendered.
Yeah.
And so you were in Cocaine Anonymous, and you had a sponsor who ended up revealing facts about you that he learned through you doing the fifth step with him.
With him, yeah.
That must have felt like you were incredibly betrayed and let down.
Right.
How did that same feeling carry over into AA?
Well, it didn't. They said that's just one evidence of this program. You can't trust everybody in the program. Everybody is not in the program of recovery to help you.
Right.
And they say you can't take it personally. They said principles before personalities.
Yeah.
And that's the way I learned it because of their support and help to make me understand how this deal worked.
Yeah.
And further on down the line, people like, God, I can't think of this guy's name. A couple of guys told me to sit down and shut up.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, all right. Because, only black guy in a damn white-owned meeting.
It was that way at the club we went to and a lot of the clubs around here.
Yeah, it was a lot like that. But somehow or another, I don't know why they helped me. Maybe because of the Viet Nam, or they knew that I needed help. We went on a 12-step call. They took me on a 12-step call with another white guy, and he had drunk himself damn near to death. And then another one, he took me on another 12-step call in a hotel in Katy. A guy had 4 or 5 cases of Jack Daniels and wild turkey and shit, and he drank up 1 case and a half already. He finally died. And he had 20-some odd years in the program.
Something that you told me over the years, and that strikes me as a man who's willing to go to any lengths. We talk about going to any lengths to get sober. The lengths you went as a black man, the only black man in many, many, many meetings that you and I attended together. The fact that you were there. And I think since that time, there's been a lot more African Americans coming into some of the groups that I've gone to for years and years.
Right.
But it always struck me that it's almost like you were willing to walk into the lion's den to get what you needed.
Yeah.
Not
I didn't give a shit about y'all.
Yeah.
I didn't care about you. I didn't trust you any damn way. And what the hell they gonna do?
Yeah.
And a fucking grenade and tell you have a nice day, blow this whole fucking place up.
So as long as you had that, it was okay.
Yeah, it was okay. You gonna respect me? I'm here to get clean and sober.
Yeah.
I'm not here for any bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they didn't give me any bullshit. They helped me get through what I needed to get through.
How long did it take you to get through the 12 steps, actually, where you could say, I've done all 12 steps?
I guess first 5 years. Yeah. Then I had to start all over again because I had a little trouble after 5 years because they say shit happens after 5 years.
Yeah.
And then it happens 7 years. Then it happened in 10 years. Then it happens in 13 years. And I said, why in the hell are y'all telling me this crazy stuff? But it did happen. And that's what because they say 2 weeks before your sobriety and 2 weeks after your sobriety, things get a little squirrely.
Yeah.
And that's when you need to make more meetings. And that's what I did.
So you've always been a meeting maker, haven't you?
Yeah. Yeah. That's what, they gave me the suggestions to go to meetings. No matter what. Like Shotgun Mary told me, even if your ass falls off, take it to a meeting, somebody else will sew it on. She said, I'm not going to do it, but somebody else will sew it on for you.
That's great.
So I went to meetings.
At what point did you start sponsoring people?
They gave me a sponsor, a sponsee after a year.
After 1 year?
After 1 year. I had went through the steps. I went through the 12 steps. I went through the 4th and 5th step after 11 months in this deal. But I wasn't completely finished with all the steps. But they gave me a sponsee, Marine guy that was just got back from, I think, Iraq, and he had AIDS. And I said, okay. I said, what am I supposed to do? He said, just listen to him. He's ready to do his fourth and fifth step. I said, okay, I'll listen to him. And he had AIDS, and he had 2 twin children, 2 boys, matter of fact, and a wife, and a house. And I listened to his fifth step. And he died after that. And I said, oh, shit, what the hell am I supposed to do now? I can't take care of them damn kids and his family. So that's not your responsibility. The guy cleaned house. He had something to say, and he told you. And they leave it at that. I said, okay. He said, you can go over there and try to comfort the family, but there's nothing else you can do with that. So do that and leave it alone, you know, and then go on about your business. If they need you, they'll contact us. And then we can go back and help them. But I couldn't do it after that, so.
What an experience.
Yeah, well, I don't know why they gave it to me. I guess they thought I was the only person that could stand knowing that this guy had AIDS. And I never knew anybody with AIDS, but I said, well, will I catch it? No, you ain't gonna catch it. No. You just need to listen to his fifth step. He wants to do his fifth step to get himself.
How did that make you feel about going into the next sponsoring of another man? How did you feel at the next time?
I felt a little bit more comfortable about it. I could, because I've walked in other people's shoes before. And that's what they told me. Find a person that has walked in your shoes that you can relate to. I guess that's why they gave me so many sponsors. Because they say different people do not know anything about cocaine. Because they hadn't done cocaine. So a lot of people don't know anything about weed, smoking weed, or doing drugs. The only thing they know about is alcohol. So don't try to give them some shit about Viet Nam with an alcoholic. He can't understand you.
Yeah, he can't relate.
No, he can't relate to that shit, you know?
But you had men around you who knew you well enough that when they saw a man in a particular situation, they knew whether you could help him.
Right. Maybe I could help him.
Wow, so you had some guys who were feeding you, were your feeder system, so to speak.
Yeah, they were feeding me guys that had problems like I had problems, you know? I had all cocaine, drugs, alcohol, and Vietnam.
To what extent did you see that helping you with your own issues, to have to work with other men that had the same ones?
It helped me a lot because I had to go to a lot of different meetings. You know, that's why I tell guys, hey, this is the alphabet system. You go to AA, you go to BA, CA, DA, EA, GA, FA, GA. You have to find out about yourself. And I had to find out about myself, and I went to a lot of different meetings to find out about myself. And I say Emotion Anonymous, Gamblers Anonymous, and Sex Anonymous, Sex and Love Addicts Anonymous, kind of helped me identify with my other issues, not just alcohol and drugs.
Yeah.
I said, shit, I didn't know who I was when I came in here. And I had to find out who I was. I was a lost soul. I didn't have a soul. But today I have a soul.
Dwight, you've been sober going on 36 years now.
Right.
Tell me about some of the key moments or milestones in your recovery over the years that kind of stick out in a big way for you, either times that were very, very tough or times that were very, very good, where you can draw a direct connection to the program supporting you on those journeys.
The first one was in my first 30 days. My stupid ass went to a drag race by myself.
Oh.
It seemed like everybody in that damn stadium had a Bud Light or a Lone Star except me. And I said, I got to get the hell out of here.
At 30 days.
At
Wow.
30 days. And I say, okay, it's a meeting on, Main Street in downtown Houston. Let me get my ass over there. And I got the hell out of there. And I went to that meeting. The next time was when I had 11 months in the program, and you all told me no relationships within the first year. But then you all changed it and said for the first 5 years, no relationship. And I said, what the hell am I supposed to do within damn 5 years? They say the 3 M's, meetings, masturbation, and meditation. I say, what the hell is that?
Jeez.
I said, well, hey, it worked. You know, but my dumb ass, I said, okay, I'm not going to get in no relationship. I start thinking, I'm just going to find me a little pretty girl and get married.
No relationship, but go.
No relationship, but just, hey, marriage, you know, that ain't a relationship.
Yeah.
And she had a kid and a little black Indian lady too, and full Blackfoot Indian, crazy as a Betsy bug. And Don G, he's my best man, my sponsor, best man. And he said, are you sure you want to do this? Are you sure you want to do that? He walked me all the way down the aisle after, got a limousine and showed her around and went to the church. He walked me all the way down the aisle asking me, are you sure? Are you sure you want to do this? I said, would you shut up? He said, are you sure? Are you sure you want to do that? I said, would you shut up? He said, are you sure? Are you sure? Now I see why he was asking me. It was not sure. After I got married, went to the hotel. She drank, I don't know, maybe 6 to 9 bottles of champagne.
Oh my gosh.
I had to leave the room. And I called Donald and said, man, I need a meeting. I need to get the hell out of here. She's gone totally berserk. And he said, well, that's why I was asking you, are you sure? Are you sure? I said, that's why I was going to tell you to shut up because you didn't know what the hell you were doing. I said, yeah, well, now I know.
So how long did that last?
That lasted 3 months. Took me 9 fucking months to get a divorce. Something's wrong with the system.
For a 3-month marriage, 9 months?
For a 3-month marriage and 9-month divorce.
So the I told you so's were coming your way pretty hot and heavy.
Yeah, that's right. I told you so. You're not listening. That's when they said, get out your damn head. There ain't nothing up there. Because you don't know nothing about recovery.
Yeah.
You don't know how recovery works. Get yourself together before you go out and get involved with another alcoholic or drug addict.
So how long did it take you to get to the next one?
What, to 2015.
That's quite a jump.
Yeah. Well, I knew this well. I went 2010, I left and went to Germany on my quest for, I guess, relaxation, retirement, enjoying retirement. They told me, well, you've been here more than 6 months, so you have to get a job because you're an American. They didn't have that crap at the time. And I said, okay, I'll get a job. So I got a little cleanup job with the Corps of Engineers and worked my way up to inspector because they kept having, openings and you apply for openings. I learned how the system worked. And then I met this little Hungarian girl off and on. We went back and forth off and on and on. And met a couple of Italians, a couple of Vietnamese, a couple of all kind of women. But I didn't get married to them. And then the lady I got now called me one time and she was in trouble. And I said, okay, well, sell everything, ship everything over here, what you need or what you want. And we'll work it out some kind of how. And
this is when you were in Germany, or you were back in the States?
No, I was back here in the States. Yeah, after 2009, 8,
Mm-hmm.
somewhere off in there. And back in here, and yeah, because it was after Katrina. Because I had to go to Katrina, from Germany to Katrina, and then back to Germany, and then they sent me back after that to do this project over at in Virginia. And I've been in Virginia ever since.
So that's when she shipped all of her stuff.
In 2015.
So that got her out of the trouble that she was in.
Right.
And it got you a wife.
Yeah.
And she's still with you today, and I've met her, and
Yeah.
she's just a wonderful woman. She's a beautiful woman.
Yeah.
And the fact she can put up with your sorry ass
That's right.
makes her even more of a saint. No, she's real sweet, and it's easy for me to see the effect that she's had on your life, because you're a much more relaxed and serene guy that I've ever known.
Yeah.
So marriage obviously agrees with you.
Well, they told me work on yourself.
Work on yourself.
Learn out about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Howard, I didn't know who in the hell I was. And I had to go through a process of doing that. And all these different programs taught me, and psychologists and therapists, and
You've been through it all, haven't you?
been through the anger management and PTSD and loneliness and anxiety. And
So you could be the poster child for success in any number of these programs because you've done the work.
I've done the work. I had to do a full step on all that shit, man. Emotion, sex, gambling.
Would you say that you've stayed sober in all of those as a result of all that work? That's a lot of work in a lot of programs, Dwight.
It's a lot of different programs. I'm glad I'm here in Houston, where all those programs existed. And the places I went to and other places after 2010, they didn't have these programs.
You were doing them online.
Yeah. Well, they wasn't even doing them much online at that time. You had to open up a meeting. I opened up a lot of meetings in other countries. Didn't speak the language. But they're still going on today, That's, how do you open up a meeting in Germany?
An English-speaking meeting.
English-speaking meeting in Germany where everything, they make beer out of goddamn asparagus.
Yeah.
A wine out of asparagus. Out of asparagus? Get the fuck out of here. How you make wine out of asparagus and carrots and tomatoes? How you make wine and beer out of that kind of shit,
And that stuff's always in your face, isn't it?
All the time. And they have fest every weekend. Every weekend, some kind of fest. Some kind of wine fest. All kinds of festivals. Every weekend.
How long were you in Europe?
1998 to 2007.
So 9 years. About 9 years.
Yeah, about 9, 10 years, yeah. Back and forth.
Back and forth. So you had to find your own meetings and start your own meetings to be able to have a meeting.
Well, some meetings were already there, but I had to start another meeting in the little towns that I were in, because they didn't have a meeting, but people wanted to stop drinking. So we took meetings to the prisons and to the jails.
Weren't you close to an army base too?
Yeah. And so Americans were there, and they wanted to try to get sober. In Kaiserslautern and Wiesbaden, we had a meeting. Had a meeting in Stuttgart. Had a meeting in Mannheim for a while.
So you had the opportunity to be able to participate in all of that.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, but go to meetings all over Germany for a while.
And now you're living up in Virginia.
Yeah.
And you've started meetings up there as well.
All right. All because the old timers showed me how to do this.
Well, you're an old timer now.
Yeah, I'm an old timer.
You're an old timer, and I'm an old timer.
Right, so they say.
It's kind of hard to believe.
Really?
As we kind of wrap things up, is there anything in the last 36 years that really sticks out to you that if you had to go and talk to somebody and had maybe just a few minutes to tell them about what AA has done for you, what would you say?
I would say stay close to this deal.
Yeah.
Just work on yourself. Don't worry about the noise outside. Stay out of your head and learn about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Learn about your heart. It's a long ways from the head to the heart. And the head has got us in this damn situation. And the heart's going to get you out.
Yeah.
So you got to learn how to love yourself.
Yeah.
And I didn't love myself.
You didn't?
No. You got to learn how to love yourself before you can love others.
When did you first realize that you had that love for yourself?
I don't know. I just did what they told me to do. You told me right. I love yourself and I'm a worthwhile person, deserve to be alive on the mirror.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, do it 10 times a day and then write it down 10 times a day. And that's what I did for, 10 years or so.
Did you finally believe it?
Yeah, finally realized, hey, man, you're a good person. You deserve to be alive. You just got to get the fuck out of your head. Because ain't nothing up there. Every time I start thinking I want to manipulate shit here and there, you can't.
You know, you and I know that the things, the very basic things that we're told to do on day one has worked for us for 13,000 plus days or however many days it is, 35, 36 years. And each one of those things is as valid today as it was back on day one.
Day one.
Like go to meetings,
read the big book.
Get a sponsor, work the steps, and be of service to others.
Right, and pray.
And no one's added or taken away any of that. And so
out of all these 70, well, how long has this place been?
It's going on 90 years.
Yeah.
Next year will be 90 years.
Yeah, 90 years this thing has been going.
Yeah.
Without any eruptions.
Without any eruptions. Amazing. Well, you've been a big part of my sobriety for a very long time.
And you've been a big part of mine.
And we support each other in a lot of different ways. It's hard to, within an hour and a half, give people an idea. The part of our story that's always the juiciest is the what it was like part of our stories. Right. Then what happened comes next, and then what it's like now. Right. But even a guy with one day has got a what it was like, what happened, and what it's like now, because now is his first day in the program.
Right.
But when you're talking about guys who've got multiple years or decades of sobriety, it's real easy to kind of lose track of the fact that these are the same things that have always been true.
Yes.
And Dr. Bob said it to Bill Wilson on his deathbed, don't muck this thing up, don't overcomplicate it.
Yeah.
One of the very last things I like to ask is, considering your life to this point, if it was possible for the Dwight of today, with everything you know and everything you've been through and all your life's experience, you could go back and talk to a Dwight at an earlier time, what would you say?
I don't know. Howard, I had to write a letter to myself and mail it to myself.
Really?
Yeah.
When did you do that?
That was it was in between the first and 5 years of my sobriety. And when I got the letter in the mail, say, who in the hell is writing me? It was me.
It was you. Wow.
Me writing myself and looking at myself in this letter. And I said, oh, shit, man, you need help. Because when you write a letter to yourself, you get more honest about yourself. You don't see yourself. You can't look in the mirror and see yourself. Mm-hmm. You got to put it down on paper to see yourself. And then you realize what's inside of yourself. And you say, do you want to be that person again? No, I don't want to go back there. I mean, I did a lot of shit that I do regret.
Yeah.
I can't bring it back,
Yeah.
but I can't live in it.
Right. And you can use it to inform the present day.
Right. I can use it today to help somebody else.
Yeah. And you've helped a lot of people over the years.
And I hope so. I don't know.
What I've come to realize about asking that question is what people have told me is the you of yesterday probably wouldn't have listened to anything that the you of today would have to say to them.
No, it would not.
I know it was that way for me. As much as I romanticize the idea of if somebody had just told me they love me, which I never heard,
Right.
if someone had just done this or that for me, but thinking about the person I was based on the person I'd grown to be at that point, that person probably would not have listened to the Howard of today, because frankly, I don't think I could find the right words to express in a way that would make any difference.
Yeah.
Because they have to live their own life.
And this is why I got to keep telling myself, I love me, and I'm a worthwhile person. I deserve to be alive. I say, you some bitches tried to kill me.
Yeah.
3 or 4 times. You missed. You're not getting a second chance. I'm going to make this work as long as God wants me to work it. And I got to stay connected to this deal, because I wouldn't trade this for anything in the world. But I'm glad of those ties that stuck in there, that wasn't prejudice,
Mm-hmm.
and didn't have any animosity toward me,
Mm-hmm.
to help me, because somebody helped them.
And you allowed yourself to be helped.
Yeah.
And in the process of allowing yourself to be helped, you were helping the people who were helping you.
Yes.
And allowing them to get the part of that third step prayer about let me be of service to other people.
Right.
So that it can make a difference in everyone's life.
Yes.
This has been marvelous and wonderful, and I can't tell you how happy I am that I finally got you.
After 36 years.
After 36 years, I finally got a chance to learn some of the shit about you. And it's all good stuff. It's all good stuff. But I think that idea of a movie is excellent, and maybe I'll talk to a few of my friends and see what they have to say.
Yeah, well, let me make some money off of it, too.
We'll have to do that. Well, listen, I appreciate this. We're going to get back to the retreat now,
Yeah,
but
okay.
I love you. You're my brother, and,
Yeah, you're a brother that I never had from a different mother.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
me
I
too.
love you.
Yeah, thank
Appreciate it. Thank you for helping me a lot.
you. You bet.
You and
Thank
your
you.
family. Y'all
Thank
helped me
you.
a bunch.
Yeah, and you've helped me too. It's
Yeah.
mutual. It's a mutual thing.
Right.
So, again, many thanks for doing this.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dwight. Well, my friends, that's it for today's episode of AA Recovery Interviews. I want to thank my guest, Dwight M., for sharing his story, and thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed the interviews in this podcast series, please share it with others. This show is another helping hand of AA we can extend to alcoholics everywhere. If you want to contact me directly with any comments, questions, or suggestions, simply email howard@aarecoveryinterviews.com. Please also take a minute to leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. By the way, this podcast strictly adheres to AA's 12 traditions and all General Service Office guidelines for safeguarding anonymity online. AA Recovery Interviews and my guests do not speak for or represent AA at large. This podcast is simply my way of giving back to AA that which has been so freely given to me. The next episode of AA Recovery Interviews is on the way, so keep coming back. It'll be here soon.